I'm Chris Meyer of Alias Zone. I'd like to take a couple minutes to introduce you to my Orchestra, the collection of different devices and instruments that I've personally assembled to help me realize my compositions. Now, the obvious centerpiece is this monster, this telephone switchboard called MAD. This is what's referred to as a modular synthesizer. That's because each component that can assemble a sound has been broken down into an individual module that I can then patch together in any order that I like. As a result, I can create all these different sounds that range from the very synthetic, such as this powerful bass sound, to sounds are very light and realistic, such as this string sound. In addition to being able to synthesize or create sounds from scratch, it also gives me the ability to play back pre-recordings of other sounds. It could be something such as these birds singing in a national park in Vietnam, or it could be something such as these monks rhythmically chanting. It also allows me to take sounds like that and further manipulate them, change them, slur them together, such as an individual monk's chant, like this, and then to go ahead and have fun and decide what part of that chant I'm going to play. Now, I mentioned that this is my orchestra, and I feel very much like I am the conductor and the composer. Quite often, I will write out pieces or different musical lines ahead of time and enter them into an object called a sequencer, which then plays these different parts for me in response to the score that I entered. However, it's not just a matter of entering a score, hitting play, and walking away. Like a conductor, I have some control over how my orchestra plays back the pieces that I've written ahead of time. For example, I could say, let's take this bass sound, make it very light sounding, or make it sound very heavy and aggressive like this. Or I can take a part, such as that plucked string, and decide how rich it is playing, basically. I can make a choice whether or not to play all of the notes in my score, or I can tell it to thin out the notes and only play occasional notes, be more minimalistic. Now, this sequencer, the thing that plays back the score of my piece, can also control other instruments outside of my modular. For example, I have some parts played back from my computer. This device, called an Ableton Push, is a remote control for my computer. These green lights show you which percussion sounds are being played when by the sequencer in my synth. And I also have control over parameters such as whether or not to sound very present, very much in your face in a room, or to put it in a large reverberant space. Now, in addition to playing back a score, there's also other instruments in my orchestra that I personally play or improvise in real time on top of the piece. For example, I have a collection of polyphonic synthesizers, devices that can play multiple sounds, chords for example, in real time. One of my favorites is this Waldorf Iridium. It can play very synthetic sounds or play back very realistic sounds. For example, one of my favorites is this particular sound that starts very synthetic and then becomes much more human sounding as I hold a note. And sometimes I just play good old-fashioned acoustic instruments. I particularly like hand percussion. I have a variety of shakers, rattles, etc. And I have other interesting devices, such as this lovely little Tibetan bowl. So this is my orchestra. This is my personal band that I've hired and put together to realize the sounds and the orchestrations in my head. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy it.